Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all our viewers around the world. We are pleased to host you today and to prepare for our show with Honorable Dr. Anne Ito Leonardo. Before I go into an introduction about Dr. Anne, I think it's good to remind our viewers about our show. Today, we are doing a show about the East African community, and our interest is mainly on the membership of our country, South Sudan, in this regional body. What are the merits and demerits of joining this regional bloc? Before going on to our discussion, I would start first by giving a brief introduction about Dr. Anne Ito. Honorable Dr. Anne is currently a member of the East African Legislative Assembly. Prior to that, she was the director for the School of Public Service at the University of Juba, where she was a member of the faculty since 1978. Dr. Anne holds a PhD in entomology from Kansas State University, which she completed in 1988. Dr. Anne Ito was twice advisor to the President of the Republic of South Sudan on agriculture and food security. She also served as State Minister of Agriculture and Forestry in the Government of National Unity in Sudan from 2005 to 2007. And then again, she served as Minister of Agriculture and Forestry in the Government of Southern Sudan from 2010 to 2011. While in the Government of National Unity, Dr. Anne served as chairperson for the Political Committee of the Joint National Transitional Team, JNTT, and represented SPLM in the Assessment and Evaluation Committee. In 2008, during the convention, Honorable Dr. Anne was elected SPLM Deputy Secretary General for the Southern Sector, covering Southern Sudan by then, Southern Blue Nile, and the Nuba Mountains. From 2013 to 2015, she served as the Acting Secretary General for the SPLM, responsible for party administration. During Dr. Anne Ito's earlier assignments, including being a member of the SPLM delegation to the peace negotiations in Naivasha. In addition, she was the chairperson for the National Resource Management and Utilization Committee and advisor to the State Economic Commission on Agriculture and Natural Resource Development. Dr. Anne was also assigned by the SPLM leadership as co-chair for the productive sector in the joint assessment mission, which was led by the donor community, mainly the UN. So currently, Dr. Anne Ito serves as a member of the East African Legislative Assembly, which is based in Arusha. Honorable Dr. Anne Ito, you're most welcome to our show.
Thank you very much, Angef, and thank
Thank
you
you.
all the viewers for taking time to be with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Honorable Dr. Anne, the issue of the East African community is something that has really been disturbing us a lot as citizens of South Sudan, and especially also as South Sudan women intellectuals. There are lots of problems we see, and we would like to better understand what the East African community really is about. And to start with, since you're a member of the East African Legislative Assembly, my first question to you is, what is EALA, or the East African Legislative Assembly, and how is it different from the South Sudan National Legislative Assembly? How are people selected? What are the core functions? What do you people do within the EALA? Over to you.
Thank you very much. I forgot one very important thing. I forgot to wish everybody a happy Women's Day tomorrow. I think, for me, this is an added value to be able to be here. But let me go straight to the question. East African Legislative Assembly is an organ of the East African community. and is charged, well, the membership is acquired through elections. Each country sends to IALA 9 members, but these 9 members are elected by the national assemblies through a fair and open, transparent process, which is chaired by the speaker himself. In addition to the 9 members from each of the 6 partner states, we also have ex-official members who are ministers of East African Affairs from the six countries, and plus the Secretary General of the community and the council to the community. So there are 54 people in that assembly. Our jobs are very close. Our functions are very close, like any legislature, but we are focused on the community. We do liaise with the National Assembly on issues related to integration into the East African community. We legislate laws uh, on issues that is related to integration. We do oversight activities on on the governments of 6 partner states. For example, if there is a policy that has been adopted from EAC, we go to the partner states to see if each partner state is implementing them or not. And even the laws, whether they have started implementing it or not, or if there are particular issues by any community member, we also follow it up by going to the partner state to see what it is, and then we present the report to the parliament for debate. And then based on that, we give recommendations to the Council of Ministers as to how that problem can be dealt with. We also we debate and approve budgets, and as well as we debate and look at reports that are submitted by the Council of Ministers every year. We also look at audit reports, looking at how the monies of East African communities used. So it's very similar. The only difference between us and TNLA is the number. We are 54, TNL is 300 something. We have a tenure of 5 years. I'm now into my 4th year, but also our constituencies are different. Our constituency, once you become a member of the East African community, your constituency is the 6 partner states, not your own country. So that's the main difference.
Thank you. Thank you. So, from what I gather, we have 9 members from South Sudan represented within the EALA. How many of those are women?
3 very strong and powerful women. There is Guy Deng, and then there is Dr. Annie To, and then Dr. Woda Jeremiah. 3 very strong women representing the South Sudan, but also we are there on the ticket of women as well.
Thank you. We are glad to hear that at least here we have surpassed the 35% threshold. So we are glad to hear that, and we are represented by well qualified women. Now, a second area of focus, you mentioned that you ratify and also scrutinize some of the acts and the laws that are currently in force within the member states, the 6 member states. So, in this regard, I would like you to please kindly explain to us the EAC Customs Management Act, the Integration Act for Education 2019, the Supplementary Appropriation Act, and the Elimination of Non-Tariff Barriers Act. If you can
Yes.
at least give us an idea about them briefly, then we will
Okay.
come with more questions in relation to
That
that.
is yeah, and yes, that is a very tall list, but I'll try my best. You know, in Article 76 of the Treaty for Establishment of the East African Community, the partner state agreed to coordinate to establish common customs. Custom union, sorry. A customs union means they will do everything together. But this Custom Management Act is designed to say how is the administration of customs going to be looking like in the whole of East Africa, and how is the tariffs going to look like in the whole of East Africa, external tariff and the local tariffs, and how are the goods going to be classified? There are different goods. There are some goods which are restricted, there are some goods which are prohibited, and how do you categorize those goods? But also, in addition to that, as you manage a custom, there are some offenses that are committed. And if an offense is committed, how do you deal with it? And there are some penalties. So the Custom Management Act is basically dealing with how to manage customs processes and procedures in the whole of Africa, in the whole of East Africa. It's very important because each member come to each partner state is a sovereign country, and therefore they have their own laws. But if they want a common custom, a custom union, it means every partner must follow a guideline of how it should be done. So this Customs Management Act is a guide. It is something that every partner has to harmonize their local laws, domestic laws, so that everything that is done within the custom in East Africa can be compared and can be equal from one place to the other. So that is the Customs Management Act. You have it is actually not education, but it's civic education for integration. We realize that as we go around, very few people know about EAC. It's not just South Sudan. If you go to Uganda, you will find that the ordinary people don't know much. You go to Tanzania, they don't know much. So this civic education for integration is supposed to make available knowledge, information, skills, values, and attitude that is necessary for citizens to be able to work together and to welcome each other, to feel, to have a sense of belonging. That is, in a nutshell, what this civic education is about. It's supposed to educate people about how ESC works and the role of the citizens and the laws and how to respect them. That's it. Now, what were the other there are two other laws that
Um,
I'm supposed to.
I think the one I would be interested in is on the East African Community One Stop Border Post Act.
Thank you very much. You know what happens is if you go to a border, you'll find two border posts. For example, if you go to Nimule, you'll find on Sudan side there is a border post handling customs, handling immigration, handling everything. And then on the Ugandan side, there will be an equivalent, but dealing with the Ugandan side. But this is very time consuming. If you go to this border, sometimes you find 2 kilometers long of traffic. So what they've decided to do is to bring all these people together to sit under one roof or in buildings next to one another, using the customs management law and similar to immigration. The idea is when people sit together, they can talk, and the distances where passengers and goods can go is very, very little, and they use scanners for goods to see what is in there. So it really reduces the amount for clearance, the amount of movement. Sorry, you can move goods very quickly. And in fact, once this one stop border posts are established, for goods to move from Mombasa to Nimble, for example, it used to take 2 weeks. Now it can take like 6 days or even 4 days because everything is coordinated and it is being digitized, and it makes things move very, very quickly. So that is the purpose of that one-stop border post. Everything is done in one place so that it saves time.
How far have we gone with implementing that? And what are the benefits to us as a country?
Well, the fact that there is one in Malaba means goods can move here faster. On our own part, in Nimule only, the Ugandan side have already completed the building, and the South Sudan part, the building is completed, but we are now left with facilities to be established. Yesterday, we went to meet not yesterday, on Friday, we met the Deputy Commissioner General for Revenue Authority, and they really feel like it is something that is going to make a difference, because really, in these places, people are still using manual receipts, and they're not using computer. Receipts have a habit of getting lost or something, but now they're digitizing, and they're working towards bringing facilities at the one border post in Nimule, so that they can fast track things and goods would arrive here better. But also, you stop losing revenue, because once you have a border with better control, the chances that people will be playing around with revenue will be much reduced. And once cost on transportation and custom management is reduced, it benefits the citizen. We get things much cheaper when they are not unnecessary cost added, because the border posts are not efficient. So it really benefits us a lot.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, when we talk of integration of the region, and I mean integration in the true sense that we would have free movement of citizens within the borders of the member states of the EAC, free movement of goods and everything, I have felt a bit disturbed by that, because when I move around in the East African region, members have passports, but South Sudanese do not. Why are we being denied that?
Let me be open and frank. 2 years ago, when I think it was 2018, we passed a budget with $2 million to allow South Sudan to begin issuing East African passport. We failed to claim that money. So really, we treat as if we are being cheated by there, but I think our capacities and the way we consider some of our membership, not in a very serious manner, we lose a lot. So really, we don't have East African passport because we didn't claim our money to establish it. But also, you as South Sudanese, when you go to other countries, you meet you are requested to pay for visa. It's also something that we in South Sudan need to tackle, because as we speak, any South Sudanese who go to Tanzania, to Burundi and Rwanda, you get your visa at the passport, and they don't ask for anything. They don't charge you anything. But when those people come here, we charge them something. So really, the thing is, as soon as you become a member of East African Community, you are supposed to waive visa to all citizens of the partner states. We have not done that yet. And I'm very happy in the last summit, heads of state, our president requested uh, uh, Uganda and Kenya to begin looking at how they can remove visas from each partner state's citizens. Hopefully, it will not take very long. We are still at the beginning of the year. Maybe by the end of this year, or maybe in three months' time, you may hear something different. And when that happens, any South Sudanese can go to Kenya, to Uganda without any visa. But already we are enjoying visa-free access to 3 partner states.
Okay, thank you.
I hope I'm clear.
Yes, you're very clear. Thank you, Honorable. It's now clear that the onus is on us to act on it, and our government to pay up and issue the passports, and it isn't that those countries are denying us that right. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
2 million is not a big number, and I'm sure if our government commits to do it, they can definitely provide the funds needed for us to get the passport. However, talking on the issue of money, membership fees. Membership fees are extremely high for the East African community. When I compare it to what we are being charged in other regional blocs like the IGAD and for the continental body AU, what we are charged within the East African community is extremely high. Currently, we have huge debts. Up until last year, it was 27.6 million, and we were threatened to be expelled from the body, and then 3 million was paid up. So we still currently owe $24.6 million to the EAC. Not paying up is definitely hindering a lot of things from being implemented, a lot of programs that are to be done. And I have watched some of the sessions of the parliament, of the Legislative Assembly, where other member states were even questioning the presence of South Sudan within the bloc. We know that as members of the body, some of your benefits are in fact being cut as a result of that. So, what is your response? How are we going to clear this debt? And is it really worth it for us to continue being part of EAC, considering that what it costs is more than we can afford as a country? Over to you.
Thank you very much. I want us to start with the fact that anybody who becomes a member of East African Community agrees to cooperate in certain areas of development, economic development, social development, political defense, and all that. And all that are made up into programs, which is being overseen by the Secretariat of the East African Community. As we talk, the annual budget for East African communities is about, let's say, about 100 million. This, what they're asking is not a fee, but a contribution to implementation of the programs of the East African community, some of which also benefit South Sudan. That is very, very important. It's not a fee, it is a contribution to the management of the programs and supporting the institutions of the EAC. EAC has about about 8 organs: the Parliament, the Secretariat, the Court of Justice, the Council of Ministers. All of them meet and they incur costs on transportation, on meetings. And this has to be covered by partner states. But we also have specialized institutions like the East African Swahili Commission, the Lake Victoria Fisheries Organizations, Lake Victoria Commission, which takes care of the issues of environment and fishes. And there is one institution in Rwanda for technology, one institution in Burundi that deals with health. So we have about 9 different institutions that specializes on very specific things that actually benefits the East African community. These things cannot be done without money. Once you become a member, you have to pay up for running the programs. So really, it's not like giving money somebody else. It comes back to us as services. Like when we went to our National Statistics Bureau, they informed us that they have 3 PhDs being trained in statistics. Where does the money come from? From East African community. There are about four of the staff doing masters degree in statistics. Who pays for that is the East African community. So there are so many things. It's not money that is going away. It comes back to us as services. For me, the way I see it is like putting your money into good use because it comes back to us as services. So that is what people don't understand. People think it's given away and then it goes somewhere, but it comes back to us. That training that statistics receive, that training that National Revenue Authority receives, actually remain with us as capacities of institution. That we don't have to spend money again as South Sudan to train those people. So really, I think the money is not too much. If you look at how much money we use into other projects, it is more than 10 million. But this is 8 million for a whole year for every benefit that you receive. So to me, how we are going to get this money, to me, is a matter of priority. But whether the money is being put into good use, I absolutely believe it's going into good use, because if anything, there is capacity being built.
Thank you. As a new nation, we have a lot of challenges, and when I look at institutions like the AU where I work, uh, the percentage of payment that each country or contribution from member states is determined and then made according to the ability of the country. For example, members do not pay exactly the same amounts to the union. But here in the East African community, people are put on par or at the same level. Kenya pays the same amount that South Sudan pays, that Rwanda pays, Uganda, Burundi, and so on. Do you believe that is fair? Another question that I would ask is in relation to the issue of trade. Some of these countries have advanced a lot in the area of establishing their institutions. And being a country that is just out of war, we don't have the competitive advantage to be able to compete with them at the same level. So, how do we protect our traders and ensure that our market benefits from some form of protection so that we can also compete and grow and not be invaded by businesses from the region?
Well, thank you very much. What is very important for us to understand is, yes, our institutions are very weak in the short run. In the long run, given the training and the experiences and the exchange visit that goes on, would also along the way build our capacity to become competitive. That's one. Two, the trade liberalization is very, very in EAC is very specific. It's about external tariff and it's internal tariff. External tariff means whatever goods come from somewhere into any of the partner states, they have to be charged the same amount of money. For example, look at this. If it comes from China and it first lands in Kenya, Kenya would charge it maybe 10%. It goes to Uganda, 10%. It comes to South Sudan, we are supposed to charge the same amount. To me, that does not affect us at all. Where we are going to be affected is the removal of any taxes from goods moving between the partner states. This is because for the time being, we don't have much to export. So you find that because of that agreement, Kenya can bring their goods into South Sudan. We don't charge it. Uganda can do the same, Tanzania, all the same. But in the short run, if we were to take seriously the fact that we have all these years, we also have comparative advantage in our membership in East African community. All the East African community members import food. They import maize, they import sugar, they import so many things. They import rice. These are things for us we consider as comparative advantage. So it's not that we are very, very bad. I think when we begin to take our membership in the East African community seriously, and then we plan, we know this is what is today, we may be at disadvantage, but if we do 1, 2, 3 in 5 years' time, we'll be able to be competitive. What we should look at is the world is going global. We have already signed up to the Continental Free Trade Agreement. Yeah? And what we experience in EAC, we are going to experience in that organization if we don't pull up our socks. We have to plan to be able to be competitive. You don't just become a member of a bloc and you sit back and begin saying we are new, we have too many problems, and we cannot do this, you're not going to grow and you're not going to become competitive. For me, that is the issue I have with ourselves. We just sit back and cry, and this thing, globalization will not go away. We are going to have to become competitive in order to survive. That's the thing I can say. We have to become competitive because we have comparative advantage on so many things, which at the moment we are not investing in it, and we are not producing anything. We eat tomatoes from Uganda. Why should we do that? Those are goods that we can actually take with this free tariff-free movement. We can move maize to anywhere. We can move rice to anywhere without any charges. So we have something to work for, but we are not doing enough right now.
You're right. We're not doing enough, and we still have a long way to go. In early 2011, around 2010, 2011, there were teams sent in from the EAC to assess our ability to join the EAC. And I remember by then I was with public service. They did some assessments, and it was on the basis of that and the recommendations they made that we were allowed to join. However, South Sudan was given a window of 5 years roadmap for the implementation of some preconditions for joining the East African community, including making some key reforms in a lot of sectors. Can you kindly tell us some of the conditions and whether South Sudan has really achieved those reforms or not?
Well, thank you. But you are asking very tough questions. But I really appreciate it because there are so many people who are listening, and we really need to understand what's going on because EAC will not be our last bloc to join because we are also members of so many other institutions, and we need to learn to be participating effectively. Um, it's true. I have also read that report that we have a comparative advantage in the area of agriculture, but because our institutions are weak, our human resources are weak, our infrastructure are weak, initially we are going to be facing with some problems. And they did not give the 5 years as precondition. They are giving us a grace period of 5 years in order to undertake those necessary reforms. It does not mean if we do not complete those reforms, we'll be thrown away. No. It means for us to be able to benefit, we have to undertake those reforms. You may not, some of these reforms are not very obvious, but what I'm happy to tell everybody is the reforms that are requested by EAC are exactly the reforms that are included in the revitalized peace agreement. They are not different. It's the same one. As you reform the institution of the customs, the institutions of the bank, trade, these are what are needed in order to implement the peace agreement. So it's not additional cost. It is as we implement the peace agreement, we are actually undertaking the reforms that are needed to make South Sudan peaceful, but also competitive in the region. Uh, I'm kind of disappointed because I haven't seen much happening, but I was really impressed by the customs sector because they have come up with their own reform agenda because they understand that unless they reform the customs management and the tariffs, they are not going to survive. They are going to be continuing to lose money. They are going to be losing money through crooked investors and so on. So really, I've seen them taking this reform seriously. But also, National Revenue Authority is taking that seriously. Where we really need to work harder is the economic sector, the microeconomic section, because really, if we continue to produce nothing, We are not going to be accessing that market that is available to us, where there are 170 million who are ready to buy goods from South Sudan. But if we put nothing, we're not going to benefit from the integration. So, really, I think we have to wake up. We have to tell ourselves we are old enough, we are strong enough, we are brave enough, we are smart enough to survive, not only in EAC, but in Africa. That is what I can say. The reforms are really minimum, and it works to our disadvantage.
Okay. I would just like to take a question from a member of the audience. We have Ukel Ukuki, who asks, what does South Sudan export to other EAC countries?
Um, for now, I was talking with the customs and the trade export department yesterday, that there is there is a lot of teak going, not teak and mahogany, timber in general, being exported to East Africa, to India, to many places. But the way it is, the trade is handled, government loses a lot of the revenue that should have come to them in the form of tax. Across the border, there is uh, there is gold from Capoeira. There is sesame from Eastern Equatoria. I think the amount of gum Arabic being exported is also increasing. But that's just a tip of the iceberg. We have a lot more to export than just that. There isn't much, but those are things that are already going. Uh, Incidentally, in East Africa, we have the largest herds of cattle, and they actually want to push the leather industry to us if we can take good care of our cattle. So we have so many uh, opportunities, and we have sources of raw material for industrialization, but we have to sit down and plan and put money where our mouth is.
Thank you. Thank you. Now I would like to shift the discussion to the EAC and women's issues. We would really want to know, does the EAC have any policy developed to further the interests of women in the region? We know some countries are way ahead and have even passed the 50% threshold, leave alone the 25% or 35% we in South Sudan are lobbying for. So, what are the key elements of that policy, if it is there? Can you highlight them? And is South Sudan adhering to those gender policies?
Well, thank you very much, Agnes. Article 48 and Article 49 of the Treaty for Establishment of the East African Community recognize women. Women as very fundamental in social economic development. Uh, 49 recognizes women as business women. Uh, and also, EAC has come up with a gender policy and a gender framework. But EAC is an apex organization. It only provides guideline to partner states to follow. So because there is an EAC gender policy, but there is no quota. That is something that I think we need to fight for. There is no quota. SADC has a quota of 30%. That has to be respected by all the partner states for women. But EAC only recognizes the importance of women. It has also developed gender policy, gender framework. Uh, there are also a number of programs. Such one of them is 50 million women speak. This is a program that is supposed to create a platform, a digital platform that would introduce women in businesses to one another from Juba to Dar es Salaam, and Cote d'Ivoire, and all that. It links women up in business. And already that program is being hosted by the Ministry of Gender. I don't know how far it has gone, but that is one program that is going on. But also, EAC has been encouraging cross border trade for women. They have organized women around Nimule and women on the side of Uganda, but also all the borders in the six partner states. They're trying to organize women and train them so that they can actually engage in trade. More than that, uh, I think there was also funds to help women establish businesses. More than that, there is no quota. That is one thing that is so much different from AU and from SADC. And I think it's up to the East Africa women in East Africa community to fight for it to be put into a quota, a law or something that I think the East African Parliament can work on that.
Yeah, probably the issue of quota has not featured for most of the countries because for them it is not an issue. When we look at countries like Rwanda, we have almost 60% of women represented in the national parliament, and the same is happening, yes. So for them, it is not an issue, but for us as South Sudan, it definitely is a concern. And I will draw you into our local politics maybe later. But for now, there was a bill on sexual and reproductive health with the East African Legislative Assembly, which was recently withdrawn. It comes as a shock that such a bill could be withdrawn, and would like to know why was it taken out.
Okay, thank you very much, Agnes. Uh, the bill was withdrawn. It was not rejected by the House. If it was rejected by the House, it would have been much worse. It's a normal procedure in the Parliament because when a bill is introduced, it's normally referred to a committee, and the committee takes it to all the six partner states for public hearing. As you do public hearing, you try to collect the views and concerns of stakeholders from that particular country for the six different countries. So what happened is this general purpose committee took this bill for public hearing to the six partner states. What happened was there were a lot of concerns uh, from the partner state. Of course, you're making this law to be implemented by the partner state. If they reject some, the likelihood of them implementing or adapting it is very high, very high. So what came out there there are two things. There are some concerns about disagreement, but also there are some gaps that are seen in that bill. Number one difference is uh, the issue around uh, um, abortion. You know, our partner states, there are a lot of traditionalists, there are a lot of that. They were very uncomfortable about abortion on demand being appearing there. So, you know, there was a lot of resistance. I'm not going to say which partner state, but that becomes, you have to harmonize it. You have to build a consensus around it. Otherwise, the bill will not be implemented. There is also disagreement around the grounds for abortion. When can a woman request, when can a woman be granted abortion? So there was no agreement on that. Apart from that, you know, people say things have changed. That bill left out a lot of elderly people. You know, people after 55, they go to menopause. They also experience a lot of problems. Even men, when they are beyond 55, they experience a lot of reproductive health problems. And it's not reflected in that bill. So it is withdrawn so that the committee can go back and begin bringing, doing some studies to see how best to improve this bill and bring it back to Parliament with the improvements made to it. It's not rejected. it was withdrawn so that it cannot be rejected, but to be improved so that it can be brought back to Parliament with all those new ideas coming in. Also, there was, there is this in vitro fertilization. There are some people, religious people, who don't like it. And there is surrogacy. Some people don't like it. They think God does not allow such things. So really, if the bill went like that to Parliament, it can even be killed right in the House. So the committee decided to take it, think about it, improve it, and bring it back later. So I don't see any concern apart from it's being delayed, but it's not rejected.
Thank you. Thank you. A question that is being asked by the audience is what economic, educational, and political benefits can South Sudanese women gain from the EAC bloc? And where can our women access this information?
Okay. Educational. One, I think women should begin checking the EAC website. I think we'll make it available to the forum. In this forum, there is advertisement for jobs, but there is also advertisement for scholarships. And normally there is a clause that says preferably women. And very often, most of the, and it's not through the government, it's direct. This advertised on website, you apply, nobody is going to say, no, you cannot go because you're a woman. It's up to your qualification. And we don't see a lot of women applying for such things. So it is there. It is for degrees, it's for a lot of training that are undertaken and funded by ESC. So that's important. For the education, for businesses, ESC works through the Ministry of Gender. And I think we should challenge the Ministry of Gender to provide us with necessary information so that if there is anything else, we can also tap into the opportunities that come from ESC. Uh, what else? Something that also I would want you to know is in ESC, the different groups are organized into associations. For example, the business people are organized into groups here in South Sudan, and they link up with the businesses in East Africa. Women are supposed to be organized into councils up to East African level so that you can actually go and voice your concern and fight for your right. I don't know what level the organization of women into councils have reached in South Sudan, and this is also in the hands of Ministry of Gender. So really, you can't get much unless you organize, and also unless you understand what is going on, and you go there and look for it. It will not come, but there are a lot of opportunities that women should look for by becoming more active and engaging the EAC because it's ours.
Thank you. What a member of our audience, Mr. Red Moch Tang, is asking what the position of our South Sudan MPs is in relation to the bill on reproductive health.
That's a tough one. We have not sat as a chapter. Maybe we'll do so. But before we put our position, we have to consult first. Because you can't build a position in the air. You have to come back to the people. Maybe that's one thing that we are going to be doing, go to the Ministry of Gender, but also engage the different stakeholders in South Sudan so that we can build our position based on what people want. We cannot just go and say we want this when our people want something different. So I agree it's important to have a position, but I think the best thing to do is consult first so that we will be truly representing people.
Thank you. Thank you. Now, considering that you had been the Minister of Agriculture in the former government of Southern Sudan and State Minister of Agriculture too, A question is, how can the EAC help us as a country to become food secure? And what lessons have you brought back from your experience working in the East African Legislative Assembly?
Uh, Thank you very much, Agnes, and for that person who asked the question. Nobody can make us food secure except ourselves. Nobody is going to stop us fighting except ourselves. And I think that message should go straight to all of us. We are responsible for building our food security capacity. It's not ESC, it's not EU, it's not Africa, it's not, it's us. Now, what comes from ESC is based on our agreement. We agreed to cooperate in the area of agriculture development, in the area of defense, in the area of economic development, in the area of governance. We have agreed to cooperate, meaning you bring your idea and I bring ours when we work together. And what ESC does is provide guidelines for food security. It provides guidelines for investment in food security. It provides good practices that South Sudan can choose to learn and apply or refuse to do. So really, uh, uh, what apart from the guidelines, uh, we really need to learn how they have succeeded. Tanzania is doing very well. They're producing a lot of the goods in Basala here, onions that come here, we get it from Tanzania, maize from Tanzania, they're exporting. What we can do is learn from them. How did they invest? And what have they chosen to invest in the area of agriculture? And how much are they investing in agriculture? On our part here, if you look at all these years, even at the time I was in government, the investment in the national budget in the agriculture sector is less than 1%. So how do you expect ESC to make you food secure if you yourself is not investing in the development of agriculture? What is food security? Food security is production, but also being able to buy that food if you have money. Now, if I don't have money, even if somebody produces food, I can die here in Juba because I don't have the buying capacity. So really, food security is complex. It's being able to produce enough. It's being able to transport to area of deficit, which means we need roads. It's being able to engage the private sector so that they can get involved in food trade. Is making storage systems. It's a complex and complete, comprehensive approach to agricultural production in order to secure food security. So I see it as us being able to make that plan over time and putting our money into agriculture, because with the 0.2% investment, and then you put so much money in defense, uh, how do you think your agriculture sector is going to grow? It's not going to be grown by ESC. It's going to be grown by us. That is how I see it.
Thank you. Since we are on the issue of women, I would like us to take just a few minutes on our own internal politics, and most specifically, the recently appointed state governments in the new revitalized government. We did a statistic, and when you look at it, in fact, on the website there, you would see that the zeros seem to overwhelm anything else. There are no women appointed as advisors in some states. There are no women appointed even to head some of the commissions. The number of state ministers who are women has not reached 35% even in a single state. What is your take on that as a woman representing South Sudan at the continental level?
I'm furious.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that.
But also, I mean, something that you forgot, the
Mhm.
position of deputies is now
Yes.
becoming the position of women. deputy for this and deputy for that. And if you look carefully, you find that deputy is much smarter, much more qualified than the person who is sitting over them. Let
Mhm.
me tell you, Agnes, I'm really deeply disturbed.
Mhm.
It seems like we are going backwards rather than forward. We have many more women qualified and understand how to run organization and governments than before. In 2005, we can claim that we didn't have the right women. But right now, the way you see women, you can pick the number you want and put them anywhere you want. For me, it is a choice that our country has made to exclude women. It's a choice, deliberate choice. It's not by accident because they can see these women with all their competency. They can see this one with all their achievements. The women here have track records. They can rule this country. But much as I'm angry, but I'm also energized. People don't normally work until something hits them really bad. Maybe this is a wake up call for us women. We have to devise different ways to engage men and push forward. Quotas are not enough, it will never work. And if you look everywhere, quotas may help. But even if quotas are made legal, the parties make choices. Look at these political parties. They are the ones who bring these women to be appointed. Something has to be done to them, or with them, not to them, but with them, so that they really understand the worth. And we have to sell ourselves differently. Women sell themselves as individuals rather than a force, as a group and a group. When you stand up, you say, me, and you go campaigning, mobilizing by yourself. In the end, you get picked, but your sister, who is equally qualified, is not getting anywhere. So, really, is a wake up call. I didn't like the result, and I think we are moving backwards, but it's a wake up call.
Thank you. Thank you. You're right in saying that we tend to move individually and rather not look at the entire group as one body. And I think it would be good to host the women leaders from these various parties to the agreement to see their position because it's not about them individually, but women together as one. Thank you for that. Now, on international relations,
Okay.
our image as a country has been going bad, and there is a need to rebrand the name of South Sudan internationally, and especially in the East African region. Given the perception that people have about South Sudan and about us as a people, what can we do?
Thank you very much, Agnes. I keep telling South Sudanese at independence, people looked at us as achievers. They looked at us as people fighting for our freedom. They supported us. They gave us food. They invited us to their best offices. But this ended in 2013 when we turned the guns against ourselves. That image was changed totally because they don't know what we are fighting for. So that is very, very important. Unless we begin addressing the issue of sustainable peace, we ourselves will not find time to put money aside. We will not even have time to engage others because we are busy engaging ourselves in a bad way. Yeah. Each one is trying to undermine, overdo, and what we devote very little time for the future and to building relationship in the region and internationally. For me, peace comes first. We have to have the peace implemented. And also, as the peace is implemented, it has to go with the necessary reforms. Because if we reform the institutions and we appoint the right people, governance will improve, our image will improve, Delivery of services would improve. Our people will no longer go hungry and depend on others, because that also makes us cheap. If every day you have to call, we have floods, we don't have money. Oh, our crops have failed, we don't have. What do you think people would think of you? You are a beggar. You will not be considered at equal level when people are discussing. So we need to change that image. We have to correct what it is we are doing wrong. If we don't, our image will remain bad. But the third is honoring our obligations. It's not just ESC. UN, from UN to AU, to a lot of organizations, both international and regional, that we have become members of. Even our own missions abroad, they go for 20 months without being paid, and some of them are thrown out of embassies and their homes. What do you think? What kind of image we get? So really, it's up to us. We have to correct our mistakes and begin doing the right thing. Otherwise, this image that has become part of us will not go away unless in the region they see that we are meeting our obligations, uh, that people are not dying of hunger, that we are not exporting refugees anymore, we are settled. Uh, that is when our image begin to change. Unfortunately, it is tough, but when things get tough, it's only the tough that get going. And South Sudan must take this tough decision to correct what has gone wrong. Because we didn't start off this way. We were praised, we were received everywhere, but things changed. So what has changed? We all know. So we have to address those.
Thank you. Thank you. Talking about some of the things that have brought down our image, there was a case that was decided at the East African Court a couple of years back, and this is in relation to the 14 judges that were dismissed. The ruling came out in favor of reinstatement of the said 14 judges. Can you update us on where we are in relation to this specific case? Because it was ruled that their dismissal was a violation, and an order was given by the court for them to be reinstated. As a member of the EAC, we are bound by the rulings of the East African Court, and I would like to know what has happened up to this day concerning the fate of the 14 judges.
I'm aware about the case and the ruling, but I must confess that I haven't followed that up. Instead of just saying something out of my head, I'll need to do a follow up on that so that next time we meet, I'll be able to give an accurate, but I'm aware of the case and the ruling.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, membership of international bodies. Luckily, within the AU, our numbers are growing and South Sudan is being well represented. However, what can we do to ensure that South Sudanese take their rightful place in all international bodies like the World Bank, IGAD, IMF, UN, and so on? We are members of these bodies, but we need some ideas or some suggestions from you on how we can ensure that our people are employed within these institutions where we do have quota but are not seen.
Thank you very much. The first and the most important statement I'm going to make is we have a lot of very qualified people who can work anywhere in the world. So the low numbers of South Sudanese in this regional and international body is not due to lack of capacity. It's not. Uh, the second thing I would say is that uh, some membership in organization require that you pay up to be able to present a candidate and be able to compete. And as I said earlier on, uh, we have not been able to honor the membership of our membership in a lot of organizations. So I think that is important. But also, employment is politics. You know, if you just sit there, or if you are few, you are not a critical number, you are unable to influence the politics and the going ons in that institution. Our numbers in maybe AU is growing, but what about in World Bank? We are very few, so few that you can't make an impact. So, but that also uh, depends on uh, the fact that we have to penetrate in this institution. We need to understand its politics. We need to get the Minister of Foreign Affairs and other ministers um, who deal with this organization on day-to-day basis, get us to understand what does it require to be able to send somebody there, and then we support those people. Our problem is in the past, sometimes we get the people who are less efficient, less qualified, recommended for jobs in very important institutions. In the end, they don't perform well and they set a very bad presidency. So, really, I think it will take the country to sit down and begin taking itself seriously. I'm in AU. Why am I there? What do I want? Who do I want to have there in order to benefit, get my interests achieved? So, really, I think we really need to be serious. It's not enough to be a member of an institution. We have to be there purposefully. And then we have to prepare to push our people into those institutions. And we have to follow. You know, I mean, for example, we have IGAD. Maybe we have a few people there. But if the leaders of this country don't go to IGAD and begin opening their eyes and saying, you know, where are our people? And then you begin politicking and negotiating. Yeah, you know, next time there is an election for Secretary General, you support me because I also want somebody there. We have to build those relationships. Nothing comes for free and nothing comes easy. We need to understand there is no Godfather anywhere in the world. We have to fight for ourselves, but we need to understand the game, the rule of the game. And it is engagement, it is lobbying, it's building trust and relationship. I'm not hearing.
Thank you. Thank you. I was muted. There are lots of challenges facing us as a country. And one direct result has been the influx of our refugees into the neighboring countries. We have refugees in Ethiopia, we have refugees in Kenya, Uganda, and they've been there for years. My question to you is, how do we address this issue of displacement? How do we bring back our citizens in the country now that we have peace?
Thank you very much. It is not the first time our people are being displaced into becoming internally displaced, or in refugee place as refugees in the neighboring countries. I myself was a refugee at the age of 6 and stay in refuge for 10 years. But we were able to come back with the help of UN and other humanitarian organizations who normally arrange for people to come back. And I think that is not the issue. In fact, there are some people who are prepared to come back by themselves. I've seen people coming back into certain areas, coming by themselves, especially if they're just across the border. What is important in their return is whether the same thing that chased them is still there. Is there security? They ran because of insecurity. Is security guaranteed? Are there police? Has there been disarmament? Can they come and start clearing up? That I think is number one. Number two is pull factor. If I stayed in a place where there is education, health, I have my home, my pagari, and I want to come back. If I have children, would I come home? I will not. If there is no school for my child to go to, and if there is no health service, my children can go to when they are sick, there will be no incentive for those people to come back. I think it's very, very important. And then the third is, the conflict has been going on for a long time, and neighbors, in some cases, have hurt neighbors. People have um, they're afraid of one another, and that fear of being together can only be removed when a program of forgiveness and reconciliation is put in place, and yes, that there is punishment for those who have really hurt others. If there is nothing like that, people are afraid to come back. They say, what is the guarantee that somebody would hurt me and nothing would be done to them? So really, I feel that coming back home is not uh, a problem from the international community or the people themselves. I think we need to deal with the factors that made people run away, but also create a pull factor so that when people come back, they will not feel like they will be worse off than they are while they're in the camps. So that is what I think. Of course, some people may differ from that, but I've been refugee myself. I've come back myself, and I have been talking to people both here and in the neighboring countries. Those are some of the things they're saying.
Thank you. Thank you. As we come to the end of our show, and since our focus has been mainly on the EAC and you being a member of the East African Legislative Assembly, can you honestly tell us what are some of the challenges you have faced representing our country there? And why should we continue being there?
I'll start with why we should continue to be there, Agnes. Uh, for me, number one, it is that trend today that people form groups in order to be able to access markets, in order to be strong enough to benefit from defense, in order to be able to tap in the capacities of other countries. So for me, getting out of EAC would be just like a defeat. It's not only AAC we are in, we are a member of IGAD, we are a member of AU. Does it mean that once we are experiencing problem in AU, we withdraw? Rather, I see that we have to now sit down after these 4 years of being members of EAC. We need to sit down and look at things now that we have experience. We know we need to match the capacity. We need to reform the customs. We need to reform the economic sector. We need to begin producing in order to be able to benefit. Can we sit down and do that? Because we have a comparative advantage. Uh, Something that I see um, that still remains is, even though we have had insecurity, a lot of East Africans still see South Sudan as a land of opportunity. It's only us who don't see ourselves as blessed and that there is money here. They see there is money here, but we don't see money here. So we really need to change that mentality and begin sitting down and taking our future into our hands and beginning to plan so that we can play the game, because really we are not an island, we are landlocked. We'll need either through Khartoum or through Ethiopia or through Uganda and Mombasa, we have to access the market. We really need to, ask ourselves, now that our experiences are like this, what can we do better? For me, that's the only choice we have as South Sudanese, rather than saying, okay, we are unable to pay our membership, which I think is not an issue because we spend money on other things. Uh, uh, I really think we just need to take our membership in any bloc seriously and know that we can only benefit if we have a strategy and a plan to get what we want. We don't just sit back and think somehow things would happen.
Thank you. Thank you. Since today is the eve of the International Women's Day, and knowing the plight of the South Sudanese women, and when I talk of South Sudanese women, I talk of women in all walks of life, women in government, women in the working sector, women at home, and so on. Things are not looking bright for us as women. What advice do you have for them? What words of encouragement can you give them to help them keep on the fight and move forward?
I will tell the women, you are great. You are very great. You have compassion, you have love, you have energy. You are built to carry heavy load, and you've done very well. Two, your number means a lot. If you work together, you are half the nation or slightly more than the nation. I remember very well both in the 2010 election and the referendum, 52% of those who voted are women. You can imagine what you can do with that number. Put the right people in the places you want. And you have a voice. If only you work together and you agree on one, two, three things to do, and you do it, you agree to do it everywhere. For example, it seems like we have taken upon ourselves so many challenges. But let's say this year or the next 5 years, we'll fight to get women in government. And we ask ourselves, how do we do it? It doesn't matter which woman, as long as she's a woman. What does it require? What can Anito do? What can Agnes do? What can other people do? But to get these women in power. Maybe the next time we'll work to remove the obstacles for every woman in South Sudan. The next thing may be working to mobilize men to support us, working with political parties to agree even on voluntary quotas. So there are so many things we can do, but we can only achieve it if we work together and we coordinate. I know there are a lot of very strong women, capable women, committed women, but if we don't work together, those energies we will lose what do you call it? Complementarity. It will not come great. But if we work together, you can do your own thing, but let me know what it is you're doing. Let Nget know so that somewhere we can bring all these energies together in order to make progress. Otherwise, you are great, whether anybody sees it or not. I know, and you know that you are great. The only thing we need to do is agree to work together and look at our problems in the eye. There is no coming back. We had more opportunity before. I believe it is going away because people don't see us as a threat. If you are of no consequence to anybody, is anybody going to change the way they do things? No. We have to repackage ourselves, reposition ourselves so that if anybody talks in South Sudan, they look at women first. How do their face look like? Are they looking angry or are they happy? If we can get to that level, then we'll say we are influencing the politics and what is happening here, and therefore we can shape the future. Until then, don't give up. We are many and we can fight together to change this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Honorable Dr. Ann Ito, for those wise words. I believe we are stronger together, and that is where our power as women lies. We appreciate the time you spent with us today to shed light on the East African community. You have spoken at length, and thank you for answering our questions, though some might have been a bit sensitive. We appreciate the responses you have given to us today. With this, I believe we have come to the end of our show, having learned more about the merits of our being parts of the East African community, as well as some of the demerits of being members of that body. As women, we are proud of you and the other women who are representing us within the East African Legislative Assembly. Keep on moving strong. You have our full support. And with tomorrow being International Women's Day, I would like to take this moment to wish all my sisters a very happy International Women's Day. Continue the fight, and remember, we should be our sisters' keepers and continue supporting each other in all we do. With this, I thank you all for tuning in, our audiences, both male and female. You all have a good morning, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are. Thank you for tuning in. Bye bye.